Alright, how are y'all today? Welcome to my channel. This is an educational channel, and we look at, in general, a lot of different theories of everything. Although we've been fixated on this one here called the reciprocal system of theory. This is video number 255 on the reciprocal system, which was originated by Dewey B. Larson back in the 20th century. And Mr. Larson started working out his theory starting way back in about 1930. Eventually, around 1959 or so, he wrote up his two fundamental postulates. And so these were the two cornerstones of his theory, even though the first one is much more fundamental and to the theory at least. And then once he had his fundamental postulates, he went on a process of deduction from, okay, if this is true, then this is true. Then if that's true, then this is true. And he derived a theoretical universe of how the universe actually operates. And then he compared his theoretical universe with the scientist's universe, the legacy scientist universe. And he wrote many books then after he came out with his postulates on mostly scientific subjects like chemistry, physics, and astronomy, but also metaphysics and also economics and a few other, smaller subjects, smaller writings, articles. And he gave a lot of talks. Passed away in 1990, and he left behind a great amount of work, and he also left behind some up-and-coming scholars who took his work and tried to expand upon it, refine it, and revise it. And one of those was Dr. Bruce Perret. And Dr. Perret's work is what we're focusing on here today and over the last month or so. Perret wrote a number of articles under the name Daniel Phoenix III called the Daniel Papers. And these are a little bit more speculative. Perret takes Larson's reciprocal system, but he also puts a lot of other different kind of theories of everything into his mix when he writes up his papers. And one of the main ones he uses is yin and yang from the Taoist system. But he uses quite a few other things too, projective geometry. And this article is called Homo sapiens ethicus, life, death, reincarnation, and ascension. And this is part 3 of his 4-part anthropology series on the hidden histories of Homo sapiens. Now, just to give you a quick rundown of Larson's reciprocal system, basically, Larson is positing a universe made entirely and only out of motion. So the universe is not made out of matter, not made out of energy, but is made out of motion. Matter and energy are merely two different kinds of motion. Other people have come up with this before, such as Rene Descartes, Arthur Eddington, Thomas Hobbes. They all explored the idea of a universe of motion. But Larson distinguished himself by defining motion as the relationship between space and time. Actually, when he first came out, he referred to motion as space-time, but he began to use the term motion, and motion is the relationship between space and time. That sets up a generalized reciprocal relationship between space and time, and hence the name, the reciprocal system. Motion is basically a fraction with space or time as the numerator and time or space as the denominator. And motion is all really scientific units are different kinds of motion. So not just matter and energy, but also speed, acceleration, force, pressure, electric charge, electric current, electrical capacitance, magnetic flux, permeability, permittivity, density, viscosity, fluidity. These are all forms of motion and can be expressed by a fraction with time or space as the numerator and space or time as the denominator. Now, time and space can come in multiple dimensions. Larson says 3. I would say 3 or more. Larson calls that coordinate space and coordinate time. We recognize generally coordinate space, 3 or more dimensions of space, but there is also coordinate time, 3 or more dimensions of time. And then there is also the clock aspect of the universe where, we recognize clock time. Time is always getting later and later and later, progressing, flowing, and but space also has that quality. Clock space. The space is always getting farther and farther and farther apart. And that is the progression of space. And then time and space also have their discrete units. They come only in discrete units. There is no continuity of space or time. There is one minimum unit of space and one minimum unit of time, and less than that, and you don't have space or time. So if you have less than 1 unit of space, then you only have time. And if you have less than 1 unit of time, then you only have space. And Larson calls those the space region and the time region, respectively. And those are 2 sub-units of the 2 major sectors of the universe, which are divided by the unit speed boundary. Now, speed, as we know, is space over time. The car is moving 25 miles per hour. 25 miles of space in 1 hour of time. That is speed. But if you have exactly 1 unit of space in 1 unit of time, then you have the speed of light. So the speed of light is what Larson calls unit speed, 1 over 1. And for Larson, unit speed, or the speed of light, is the midpoint of the universe. Half the universe is moving faster than the speed of light. Half is moving slower than the speed of light. Larson calls these the cosmic sector and the material sector, respectively. And as you can see, the legacy scientists really only know half of the equation. Einstein's dictum was that the speed of light is the maximum speed of the universe. So he only is calculating for the half of the material sector, the half that's moving slower than the speed of light, and was unaware of the half that's moving faster than the speed of light. So that sets up great potential for the reciprocal system to penetrate this cosmic sector, to understand what's going on over there. That can be done by extrapolation. What's going on in the cosmic sector is exactly the same as what's going on in the material sector, except that the roles of space and time are inverted. So in the material sector, you have coordinate space, 3 dimensions of space, and clock time, progressing time. But in the cosmic sector, you have coordinate time, 3 or more dimensions of time, and clock space, progressing space, always getting later and later and later. So that shows that how you can extrapolate to understand the cosmic sector, and that sets up a great potential in Larson's theory. Okay, now we're going to get back and read Perret's article, which may or may not be touching on much of the reciprocal system the way that I would just present it, but he does use the reciprocal system as kind of a background for a baseline or a foundation for his understanding and into the his own universe. So this section is called Cheating Death. The psychology of transference, when done at extreme levels, gives an organism the ability to cheat death because the choices available during dying are based on bioenergy. Bioenergy, being organic in nature, does have a footprint from the life form it belongs to. But that footprint is erased and replaced once voluntary transference of bioenergy to another organism is made. On the plus side, it allows life to provide life energy to another life for the purpose of health and healing. On the minus side, it can cause life to get demoted back from lack of bioenergy that was transferred away when they otherwise may have had a shot at ascension. Since there are significant karmic repercussions in this cheating death scenario, those that engage in the practice desire not only to avoid death, but avoid the entire cycle of reincarnation altogether. This can be accomplished using techniques commonly known as black magic, though it is actually just the weaponized version of a science of the soul. With a basic understanding of the life unit and how it works as a bridge between 3D space and 3D time, or the material sector and cosmic sector, one can unravel this process of cheating death without having to resort to religious symbolism of Satan or devil worshipping. Corporeal death is a given due to natural, involuntary, or unnatural causes. Extending the life of the body only has limited results and is not actually cheating death. What is actually done is to engage the reincarnation process to the point where the anima disconnects from the corpus. So the anima is the soul, and the corpus is the body. And the anima is a cosmic sector thing, and the corpus is a material sector thing. Okay, so engage the reincarnation process to the point where the anima disconnects from the corpus, that is returning to inanimate status as chemicals. Then drop that anima back into another body that is young, alive, and healthy. So the anima, again, corresponds to the soul. And so and life is a union in the proper proportions, at the proper angle between a cosmic unit and a material unit. So the body and soul together are what form the life unit. And then if you separate the two, both of them are inanimate. Okay, so that's what he's saying. You separate them, you disconnect them, and then drop the anima back into another body that is young, alive, and healthy. The problem to be overcome is that this young corpus or body is already occupied by a different soul. So what is needed is either an uninhabited corporeal body or a tenant of that body that will voluntarily vacate the premises when it is time for someone else to move in. Our good friends of the New World Order have taken both approaches in their attempts to cheat death. First are the attempts to genetically engineer compatible bodies, from alien hybrids to modifications of life on our own world, just as the Anunnaki originally did. Next comes the volunteers, people raised without any sense of identity or independence. So they do not have much, if any, of the spirit in the third ethical sector to put up any resistance when it comes time for eviction. Bioenergy is still a form of energy in general, and, like its inanimate equivalent, can be manipulated through technology, but requires an organic technology to do it. To the best of my knowledge, genetics has not yet advanced to the point of creating life. Hence, they are not able to engineer organic computers at the DNA level. So one must use the tools at hand, which is other life, combining their auras to act like a magnetic scoop, to catch a person that is dying and transfer that bioenergy into another corporeal body. These are exposed by journalists as those black ceremonial rituals. It is not a lot of mumbo jumbo because it is generating vectors in 3D time. The cosmic sector where the anima remains intact. Sorry. The anima remains intact as a structure. That is what the chanting and prayer is doing, aligning temporal vectors like a net. The consequence of these techniques is that the same souls with the same personalities can continue on indefinitely, just downloading into a new body when theirs is about to expire or when it gets damaged beyond repair. Of course, the public does not suspect that we've got the same world leaders running things that we had 500 years ago, which explains why faces change, but the world continues to degenerate. They are cheating death and avoiding karma from reincarnation, so they do not have any concern over the consequences of their actions. As can be seen, depravity and criminal insanity tend to set in over the centuries. Okay, let's see where we're at. I really can't see that. I don't know. Some of the settings in my phone have been all screwed up here. We're gonna just finish this section here, which is called the collective soul. The ability to cheat death is partially genetic in that it requires a stronger presence of Anunnaki DNA to allow for a clean separation, since the SMs, or Saurian men, or spacemen, or our gods, so-called with a small g, cheat death in a similar fashion, except their genetic engineering skills allow them to grow their own custom bodies to relocate their souls into. Whereas humanity is a hybrid of Anunnaki and Neanderthal, this ability is reserved to the blue bloods, the royal children of the gods. The rest of the red bloods end up with a choice of reincarnation with its karmic repercussions, or even ascension. Of course, because our world is controlled by those that enjoy fear and suffering, we all experience a great deal of punishment, as stated in the myth of error, and as such are continually choosing to make a better life. We are choosing to evolve. What holds humanity back can best be described as a collective soul, the half that is tied to the Anunnaki genetics that influences us to be voluntary servants and to not seek independence. Okay, that is the end of that section. The next section is called Evolution of the Species, and we will take over tomorrow with that section. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.